what's right. Let's rock this planet of ours and unite. And listen to the radio. Turn up the power of music.
Hey everybody, I am Roctavia Rose with Rock News UK. And why don't you go ahead and tell me who I have on the line with me today?
Yeah, this is Greg from Cats in Space.
Yes. So I have a partner over in the UK. His name is Andy. And he sent me some information about a band. He's like, check out this band, Cats in Space. I think you'll really like it. And I pop onto Spotify and I played a couple songs and I'm like, okay, this kind of has some like Queen flavor and it's funky and it's cool. And I'm like, okay, let's go. I'd love to give them an interview. So here we are. That's what led to everything today.
Old Andy.
So thanks for taking the time out of your day to have a chat with us here. I am over in the US. I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people.
Chicago doing?
What's that?
How's Chicago doing over there with all the COVID nonsense?
We just had a huge music festival called Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could have gone, but they just after that reinforced the mask mandates for a lot of the indoor venues here. So I'm just hoping everybody can just be kind of like wise about everything so we can keep the music flowing. That's my hope. I hope we can all pull it off.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, isn't it, really? I mean, no one knows what's going on half the time, I don't think.
Yeah.
Getting back to it, over here is not too bad. It's kind of getting back to normal because obviously we're out fairly soon, but there's still so many people that are just, they're just reading into so many different things. They're just kind of a bit worried about going out still. It's balmy, really.
Yeah. I know you guys were kind of locked down a little bit longer than everybody in the US. So you guys had Freedom Day recently, didn't you?
Yeah, it was, and that was delayed by 3 weeks, I think. So that's affected the amount of time we've had to sell tickets for the tour. But yeah, we've been pretty much locked down since last March. So that's nearly a year and a half.
Yikes.
It's just madness. Good thing about us was though, because like we work remotely in a studio in a forest, pretty much. It's like a farm, and it's right in the middle of nowhere. So apart from the first 5 weeks last year, we've been able to come and go into the forest to carry on recording. So personally, I haven't really felt it apart from the lack of gigs, but the rest of the time we've been fine. So yeah, one of the fortunate ones, I guess.
So speaking of gigs,
yeah,
let's jump into everything. I was kind of wondering what your music journey was like growing up. What really turned you on to music, to getting passionate about it to the point to where you wanted to become a musician?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, I've got two older brothers, and my eldest brother, who's 7 years older than me, all he ever went on about was music when he was kind of, I was really young. I was probably five or six maybe, so I can just about remember when the Beatles broke up.
Oh, wow.
So I remember Hey Jude and Let It Be and Shell, Long and Winding Road, which are all like, such incredible songs. But he was, my brother, he's a bit of a weird one because he loved easy listening music like Andy Williams and Lulu and the Carpenters, who I absolutely love the Carpenters. But then he also, to keep in with the kids at school, he'd go out and buy like, Deep Purple Fireball or Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards or something. So he had this really eclectic music taste, which I kind of soaked up. And I just loved all of it. So obviously then glam rock came out in the UK, which we all really liked, and me and the two brothers were out kind of buying all the records. So I was fortunate that I kind of grew up really early on loving kind of that kind of music. And my dad was a guitar player as well. He was a jazz guitarist, which, you know, wasn't really my cup of tea, but obviously seeing him play the guitar and take his amp out every weekend was obviously a big thing as well. And that's all I ever really wanted to do, you know, either that or football. And I was quite a good footballer, but I was never into football as much as I was music, and music was always there for me. So since about 5 years old, I've kind of always wanted to do music. Crazy.
So you said you were into a lot of glam rock. Who was your favorite?
Well, the Sweet was my favourite band. So there's and Slade. Don't know if you remember Slade at all, but the Sweet were the main band that I kind of grew up really getting influenced by. And then Queen came out, and then Queen kind of took over. And then obviously got into rock music, like, you know, Thin Lizzy and Kiss and Rush and UFO and that kind of stuff. So yeah, all the good stuff.
Definitely the good stuff. What was your first band experience like? Like, everybody has that, like, your first band. Like, everybody has, like, some people have like little garage bands that they get into, or they have like family situation where, you know, you start a band with a brother and a cousin or something like that. So what was your first band situation like?
When I was at school, so this was like Christmas time when I was about 13, I got like my first electric guitar for Christmas, like a little cheap guitar from Woolworths, you know, as we all did back then. And a friend of mine at school, who I'd known since I was probably 5 years old, we were like really good buddies. He just so happened to get a bass guitar at that Christmas. So we got together and just kind of learned our instruments at the same time. And he was like a genius. He has turned into like a real jazz genius. He can play anything pretty much. But back then we were just trying to be the new Lennon and McCartney, writing songs before I even knew what guitar chords were. But it was good because it taught me straight away that what I really wanted to do was try and invent music rather than just try and copy something off of the telly or listen to records and copy whoever. I wasn't really interested in that. I wanted to write my own songs and words. And yeah, we did that from about the age of 14 and did a few little gigs around our kind of local town. We did our first gig was a church harvest supper, of all things. Because we used to rehearse in the church during the holidays, the deal was
it like a metal feel where you're playing like Harvest Supper in church and you're just like melting faces? Or
no, we weren't tame, but we did an Eddie Cochran number, like a rock and roll number. I think it was Bebop or Lulu, I think it was. And then we did a song that we wrote, which was quite it was quite rocky, but it was quite tame as well, I guess, for the time. This was, we hadn't really got the equipment to be able to crank it up and do all the distortion. Although I was into Thin Lizzy and Kiss by that time, I didn't have the gear to make it sound like that. That came kind of a little bit later, but yeah, we had to do a gig for them as part of the deal of being able to rehearse in their church hall in the holidays. So these little old ladies were sitting down kind of with their handbags, kind of watching these four kids get up and make a racket. But it was good fun. And then we used to do like parties round like people's houses on a Saturday night, and we'd set up in the conservatory and, you know, put a load of songs together and play a couple of covers, but mainly play our own stuff. Because back then, like back in the late 70s, there weren't tribute bands or covers bands. People just went out and played their own music, and that's how all the kind of the new wave of British heavy metal came about, and all the rock thing from the like 1979-80, like Iron Maiden and Def Leppard and all that stuff. It all came out of just the fact that bands played their own music. They didn't play covers. Of course, nowadays everyone wants to be in a tribute band, and you know it's gone the other way, unfortunately. But yeah, back then you played your own songs and hoped that people liked them, and maybe at the end of the night you did Highway to Hell by AC/DC or something, and that'd be it, you know?
Yeah. But I love that you guys started basically like just singer-songwriter style, like doing your own stuff, not trying to cover too much stuff. That's really impressive, actually.
Yeah, I mean, my English teacher at school used to like say, you know, what do you want to do when you leave school? And I said, I'm going to be a musician. He said, you've got no grasp of reality. That was my last school. Yeah, my last school report was he has no grasp of reality. And I'll never forget that.
Oh.
And I was pretty good at school, and he said, well, you know, how do you write words in? I said, well, it's kind of poetry put to music, and I learned poetry through school. You know?
Yeah.
He'd bemused to say, you're just mad, you know, you're just on another planet, you know. I thought, well, I'll prove you wrong, and I did. So, you know, that's how it was. So yeah, I wasn't interested in. I don't think I had the patience to learn other people's music anyway, because back then there was no YouTube or videos. You had to learn it off the record by playing it backwards and forwards and slowing it down. And you know, all my mates were going, "Oh, I can play Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin," or "I've learned Stairway to Heaven." I'm like, yeah, but that's been done. You know, I don't want to learn Jimmy Page. I'd rather write a song that's like it and
right.
be my song. You know, and I've always been a bit like that, really.
Yeah. So. I can completely understand where you were coming from there with being in school and like kind of wetting your whistle with poetry, written word and stuff like that. I used to be I still am really long-winded because I read a lot of Shakespeare and I love poetry and Edgar Allan Poe, and like anytime I pick up a journal and I try to write lyrics or stuff like that, like I feel that prose and like I can feel a little bit of that stuff creeping in. So that I love that you mentioned that. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I didn't read many books, to be fair, but it just came back in my head from somewhere. I think I was more into cartoons on TV and you know, like Hanna-Barbera, you know, Scooby-Doo and
Top Cat.
Yeah, Top Cat.
Yeah.
Both my cats were named after Top Cat characters. So.
No way! That's awesome.
Yeah. Huge Top Cat and Deputy Dog. Remember Deputy Dog? You know,
yes. I like. So we had a lot of that feed come in where we would get like tons of like the Hanna-Barbera stuff and the Looney Tunes, even though they were really violent and it was kind of horrible and it's like kind of banned from circulation now. But a lot of the Tex Avery stuff, I loved how wacky it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really inappropriate, the Tex Avery stuff, so.
Roadrunner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jerry doesn't get shown anymore, which is ridiculous, you know, just because it's too violent.
Yeah, exactly. Like you watch that stuff back when you're a grown-up and you're like, oh, wow, okay. I watched that as a kid.
Kids are so influential now. They'll probably go and pick the cat up and start hitting it with a mallet or something. So, you know, kids, they'll do anything that's on the telly, won't they? So back then, we just used to find it hilarious. But you wouldn't go out and mistreat your pets because of it, you know. But,
right, but we could differentiate between, hey, this is a cartoon, this isn't, you know. And I guess I picked off more of the kind of goofball, the wacky side of stuff, but like it kind of, when you watch that stuff growing up, it still gives you a sense of whimsy. You still have that wonder, and I think it translates into a lot of the artistic stuff that you come along with when you're down the road creating. So
it definitely comes into music, if you're, especially the kind of music that we do, and the stuff that I've always liked has always been a bit psychedelic, kind of crazy, kind of cartoony. You know, I'm not doom and gloom and kind of serious. You know, it's all done very tongue-in-cheek, which cartoons were back in the day. You know, HR Puff and stuff. You know, and the banana splits. You know, I love all that stuff. It's just good fun. It's just balmy. You know. And I think that's what. There's not enough of that around nowadays.
It really isn't. No, I would watch a lot of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I would watch Pee-wee Herman a lot growing. He was one of my favorites, actually. I watched, like, we had something here that was in syndication called The Bozo Show, and I absolutely loved it. And it had a magician called Wizzo, and I don't know, it just, when you are actually a kid, you stay kid longer, you have that whimsical stuff. Like, again, it helps being a creative. It helps you with that imagination. You're still like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I always say to people, I said my head's like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon at the best of times, because it's good for the writing, you know, and there's, like I said, there's not many people that do that stuff, and I think Jellyfish, who are an amazing band, they absolutely encapsulated all of that stuff in their 2 albums that they did, you know, and the image and the way they did the videos, and I mean that was a massive inspiration to me in the early 90s, which I thought, wow, there's a band out there that's that crazy, you know. And I just love all that side of things, rather than the bands that are all serious and go out there and they kind of shout and detune their guitars and play at a million miles an hour, which isn't my cup of tea at all, really.
Right.
You know, fair play for doing it, but it's all a bit, I've always said that stuff, you have to box yourself into such a small brief. You know, you can only do this, you can only do that, you can't do that, I can't do this because it's not right. Whereas what we do, we say there is no box. We can.
Yeah, you know, that's perfect. Like when you don't listen to the like, hey, that's not right, you can't do that, you're supposed to do XYZ, this is how it works in the music industry, XYZ, blah blah blah, follow this pattern.
Yeah.
But what then when everybody else is doing that?
Exactly. You've got to stand up and proud.
Right.
And you do, you know, that's why we had the name Cats in Space. People hate our name, but they don't forget it.
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people love it, or some people, the people that hate it are normally the radio stations that don't get us, you know, or it will be people that don't like our kind of music, which is fair enough. But the thing is, they remember our name. So whereas a lot of other bands that they might not like as well, but they can't remember their name. They go, oh, that other band, but I don't know what they're called. They always remember Cats in Space. And also we said what would be really cool is eventually people will get tired of calling us Cats in Space and they'll call us Cats. And that's what's happening. People now call us the Cats or Cats. Like Iron Maiden becomes Maiden, Deep Purple becomes Purple, Zeppelin. You know, people want to breathe their name down. And we said, how good would it be if we get called Cats? You know, it's how short can you get the name? And it's working. So we kind of have a little wry smile about that, thinking we got a funny name that some people don't like, but it's abbreviated with a very cool name. So
there's nothing I love more than when a band thinks outside of the box. It's Absolutely. Very important to keep them guessing and keep people coming back. And
exactly.
I mean, there's a certain sentiment where when bands get predictable, that's kind of just their jam. But like, there's nothing more refreshing when, you know, you go into something, you still have a little bit of that, like, hey, this is our style, this is us, we're going to stay true to us, but then we're going to throw you a curveball and you're going to have even more fun than you normally have. Like,
and all the great bands did that. You know, that's why Queen went on for so long and did so many amazing albums. You know, Led Zeppelin, and they kind of kept their core, but they also weren't frightened to go outside the box. Because the thing is with rock music, it's so generic, the style, that once you've done 2 or 3 albums, you can't say any more than that unless you just repeat. And if you're really lucky, like back in the 80s, bands could repeat to a point. You know, like Judas Priest had a formula. You know, Iron Maiden had a brilliant formula, but very small formula. But my God, it worked for them. But 1 in a million bands can get away with that. Most bands, after 4 albums, they fall over because they've run out of stuff to do. But whereas we're not like that. We'll push the envelope to do a disco song on 1 album. That, which people thought, oh no, what are they doing now? That's actually our biggest stream song on Spotify.
That's what I absolutely love. I love when people are like, oh, what are they? Conniption fit. I'm gonna faint. They did something different. I don't like change. And then all of a sudden, it's huge. It's everywhere. Like, it's the best thing that they've done so far. It's people love it. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is awesome. And then that person that was like, oh, in the beginning, they listened to it a couple more times and they're like, wait a minute. All right, this is good. See, I told you, I love that.
Right. I mean, people are frightened of change as well. So, you know, the music stations and the magazines and stuff like that, they're frightened of having to think a bit too hard about what it is they're listening to. So they'll just go, no, can't bother. Let's get someone, oh, I know what that is. That sounds like AC/DC, that's great. Whereas if you've got to think too hard, then it's too much work for them.
I like to think.
Yeah, exactly. It's what music's meant to. Music's meant to make a connection.
Exactly.
In some way or other, you know. And if you're the sort of music that we do, you know, it is very varied. It's not to everybody's taste, but some people have commented and written into us and messaged us and come to the gigs, and some of the comments they say about what our music has done and helped them with is totally overwhelming, you know. I mean, we had a guy only last week that only found us recently on the Atlantis album, and he immediately bought all the back catalogue, and he became an Uber fan. But he messaged to say, I think Atlantis is in my top 5 albums of all time, and I rate it as high as A Night at the Opera by Queen. Which I went, how can you compare our album to Night at the Opera? I mean, that is like a... But to some people, the album is that strong. Yeah.
I just had a motorcycle go by. Hang on one second. You can hear the road outside. Okay, repeat what you were going to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Did it all go dead then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy rated the album as highly as A Night at the Opera by Queen, which was like an amazing thing to hear. But if it has that amount of emotional connection with some people, then, you know, it's fantastic. You know, because we like to try and make music have a lot of depth to it. So
right.
You don't have to like it, and no one is going to like everything. But we do find that people do engage with our bands. They really engage with it, and they totally come on board with it. But it's not to everyone's cup of tea. You know, and like I said, if the magazines and radio stations that don't get it because it's too much for them, so be it. Other people do get it, so it's good to have that kind of... I'd hate to be in the middle where they go, oh yeah, they're all right, and everybody in the world just says you're all right. I'd rather either no, we hate them, or we love them. You know, no grey area. Let's have black or white there.
Right. See, either way, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get attention. If you don't have haters, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. As I said, you might not like our name, but you won't forget it. And they won't say, who's that band that does so and so. They normally say, oh, it's that Cats in Space lot, you know. Or they'll say, oh, I love Cats in Space. And at the end of the day, our merchandise, which was a genius masterstroke from day one, if I do say so myself, we made this little cat helmet with ears and a little
oh, I would love that.
Yeah, and it's all over our website. I mean, we sell a lot of merch because of it, to the point where we don't need to put our name to it. We can just put that cat helmet up and pick those Cats in Space. Like Iron Maiden have Eddie the Head. They put that up there. They don't need to write Iron Maiden above it. It's just genius marketing, you know. And we did it for a bit of a laugh as well. This is going back to when we started, you know. We didn't do this for any big master plan. It was just done for a bit of a tongue-in-cheek laugh. We're going to do one album, call it Cats in Space, put this funny kind of Hanna-Barbera cat helmet on the cover, shove it out there, and then see whether anyone likes it or not. And we were nervous because we thought it's cost us a lot of money to do this, and then these reviews and these replies were coming in, and we just couldn't believe what was going on. That people were absolutely going nuts over it. So we thought, oh, okay, we've got something good here. And then that cat helmet is just transcended over the whole of the journey so far. So it's been really good.
Awesome. So I have to ask you, as far as gigging is concerned, what is the best venue or your best experience gigging?
Well, we were very fortunate to support Deep Purple a few years ago.
Oh.
And so we got to play the biggest arenas in the UK. So we did the London O2, we did the GMEX in Manchester, we did the what they call the massive one up there in Scotland as well. But doing the London O2 was a real big buzz. I mean, we had a bucket list tick. Obviously, everyone wants to play Hammersmith Odeon, so we did that with Thunder and Status Quo in the same year. London O2 is the big one. We ticked that off in the same year. And also in the same year, we managed to play Hyde Park in London, which was in front of 85,000, something like that.
Hey, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that was... So we played the 3 iconic music places in the UK. And there's a few others, but those are the big 3 for us. And we did all of them in 1 year. So we were like really lucky. And obviously we want to go back and do it all over again. But those would be the best gigs we've done, I'd say. But then there's lots of other great venues around the country as well. But I think to play Hyde Park and London O2 in 1 year was pretty special. Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you actually end up getting your band together? I know there's been changes. Have there been some changes recently in the band?
Yeah, we got a new singer, a guy called Damien Edwards, who I've known for a few years, who's touring with another band, and he is an incredible singer. And I've known he's been, in the other show, he's an incredible singer, and he's done the War of the Worlds live musical. Don't know if you know that at all. The War of the Worlds, really big production. And he's done everything from Elvis to Roy Orbison, and
awesome.
He's a chameleon. He can literally sing the phone book, but I never knew that he was interested in doing like an original music and writing lyrics and stuff. And so when the situation arose that we needed to get a new singer in, I kind of just happened to mention it to him. I said, "Do you want to come and do some backing vocals on this album?" He went, "Oh yeah, I'd love to." So he came and did some backing vocals, and obviously I knew how good his voice was, but I got him to sing one of the songs. I got him to sing the lead line just in one section of this one song called "Marionettes" off the Atlantic album, and I got him to sing the lead line because I knew it was right up his street. And he literally took the windows out, and I turned around to my engineer Ian, and he just looked at me. He went, "Good God, what is this?" And then so I said, "Can you sing the whole song?" So he sang the whole song. And at the end, Ian turned back to me. He said, "He's the best singer I've recorded in 40 years." And Ian's done some pretty big people, and he just said, "He's astonishing. He's like a machine." And so I had a little chat with him and said, "Would you be interested in joining the band? Would that be something that might be suitable for you?" And he went, "Oh, well, I'm not doing nothing else because of COVID." He said, "No one's gigging at the minute." He said, "So yeah, I'd love to." So he came and sang all the songs, and that's good, yeah. So that's how Dames joined. The rest of us, we just got together 5-6 years ago. We all kind of knew each other in a loose label roundabout way. Some of us knew each other better. Andy, the keyboard player, Andy Stewart, me and him have been together for over 35 years in various bands. So he's always been, unfortunately, he's been dumped with me for all those years, bless him. Stevie Bacon, the drummer, he put the band together with me, and he's like kind of my right-hand man on all the kind of managerial side, if you like. Dean Howard's the guitar player who's into Pow, and Ian Gillan, and he's done loads of stuff. I've known Dean for donkey's years, 30 odd years, and we always said one day we'll be in a band together. So he came in, and then we got Jeff Brown, who was in the suite and has played with everybody and anybody. And I'd never worked with Jeff before, but by pure fluke, when we was putting Cats in Space together, Jeff phoned me up out of the blue, recommended by someone, would I go and do a couple of gigs with him in Germany? And I went, "Oh, that's weird," because I was going to talk to you about it. So we got together in Germany and we were chatting about Cats in Space and what I was doing. And he said, "Oh, I'll come down and have a go." And because Jeff's also a lead singer as well. So we got two really strong voices in the band. And then we all got, the album was recorded kind of separately and a bit disjointedly as albums are. And then once the album was done, Dean said to me, "You've got to take this out on the road, Greg. You've got to do some gigs." And I said, "Well, I'm not really interested in putting it on the road. That's a bit much." But we reluctantly said, "Well, look, we'll have some rehearsals and see whether we can do any of these songs live because they're a bit tricky." And we got into a rehearsal room. Bam. Don't know what happened that day, but magic happened. Literally.
Magic.
It sounds corny, but it was a magical sound, and we just made this really good noise. And we all looked at each other and went, "Oh well, here we go again, boys. We're back on the road, chasing that dream." And that's how it started. Yeah.
So I have a kind of, it's not too weird, but a somewhat odd question for you. Seeing as how like your band has experienced like a lot of influential factors in the music business, have you yourself met a colleague or met anybody in the industry that you've actually been starstruck by?
Oh, blimey. There's been very few. When I was younger, I think I would have been a bit more starstruck as you are, but I think at the age we are now, you kind of just, as you tiptoe through the business, you do tend to bump into the odd person, and after a while it kind of becomes a bit kind of, you're holding your own in that kind of arena, if you like. So you're not too, I mean, obviously the Deep Purple guys, and they all turned up on the first day.
Right.
You know, it was okay because Dean had been in Ian Gillan's band, so he goes, "Oh, Ian's turning up in a minute," and then Ian came in and asked if he could borrow our ironing board so he could iron his shirt because he likes to iron before a performance.
Really?
So he knocked on the door and said, "Oh, hello, is Dino in?" I went, "Oh, hello, Ian, come in," and it's just like, and he's just sitting there chatting while he's setting this ironing board up, and like, that's Ian Gillan, you know. But no, I think the nearest I've got probably would be, I think I briefly met Brian May at an event.
Really?
Ago. Yeah, it was a wildlife fun thing, which he's very passionate about.
Yes.
And I was there as well, and he came over and was doing the rounds, introduced himself to people and stuff. And he came round to this stall that I was at, and this big mop of grey hair kind of.
Yeah.
I just saw my childhood just walking up towards me, you know. I thought
that hair is the best hair.
Yeah. He was such a lovely guy, but I only I didn't really speak to him, to be fair. So yeah, that was a little bit of a cool guy. That's Brian May. But if I met Brian again, I'd be more nervous about him having to go at me for trying to rip him off. With the guitar playing and all the guitar harmonies that I do, and everyone says, "Oh, you're doing your Brian May again." You know, my engineer actually even bought me a pair of white clogs that like Brian used to wear. So I'd probably, if I met him again, I'd probably say, "I'm very sorry for doing what I do." Please forgive me, Brian. I'm rubbish. Yeah, yeah. I think that. I don't think. Oh, blimey, I think it has to be someone like Kate Bush. I think I'd be a bit starstruck if I ever saw Kate Bush.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the other heroes of mine are dead. You know, Freddie Mercury, Phil Lynott. You know, I met Gary Moore. He was obviously my biggest influence as a guitar player, is Gary Moore, and I actually met Gary a couple of times and had a nice time with him. So I'm very fortunate to have done that. Yeah, that's about it really. I've not really met anybody else, I don't think. Not really. Guys out of Europe were on the tour with Deep Purple as well, but didn't really speak to them, to be fair. No, I think that's about it really.
Yeah. So now that you got your new lead singer and everything's kind of cooking along, things have been better over there across the pond. What's next for Cats in Space?
Well, we start our tour on the 26th of August, finally at the third attempt. So finally we get to play the song off of Atlantis, because the album came out last year. We were meant to go out on tour last September and that got shelved. Then it got moved to March and that got shelved, and now it's this September. So it's going to be amazing to do that. So that starts end of August. We've got a couple of festivals lined up. I think 3 more festivals that we're playing at. And then the other festivals that we were meant to be playing, we're now going to be doing next year. We've got 2 headline festivals next year.
Oh, hey.
Which will be really cool. And there's hopefully a couple of other things in the pipeline next year, which I don't want to goose by giving too much away, but if they come off, they're going to be proper bucket list ticks as well.
Yeah.
So we're like, one of them, I'm just like that, because it's going to be brilliant if it comes off.
Now I'm so curious.
I know, I always do stuff like this. But I can't, no, I'm not allowed to say what it is, but it will be superb if it comes off.
Maybe we'll just have to set up a follow-up interview or something.
Yeah, well, definitely come back later on and I might be able to say a bit more. But and then obviously after the tour we're in the studio recording the next album, because obviously we're way ahead of everything. So the next album's already planned for next early summer, depending on the vinyl manufacturing, because that's all a bit of a nightmare at the minute. So I'm right in the middle of recording that album, and all the guys are coming in and out the studio as we speak. So we're touring, recording the album, doing all the promo and doing that at the same time. And then obviously we've got Christmas coming up, and we've got something lined up for Christmas here in the UK again, because we like to put something out at Christmas because it's good fun. So we've got another thing lined up for Christmas, which will be revealed later on. Again, I'm not allowed to say what that is yet, but that's going to be really good. And then we'll be into next year, and we'll be getting the promo ready for the next album, probably February, March time, I would have thought we'd start the promo for that. And
sounds like you're going to be proper busy if everything goes off without a hitch.
Yeah, we're full on. But I always say, you know, if you hang around while it's all doom and gloom and you wait for everything to open up again and then you start, you're so far behind.
So far behind.
Yeah, got to plough through. And I think what we decided to do last year was we made a conscious decision just to plough through, hope for the best, still try and give people some music to listen to, and make the best of a bad situation, which we did. But not many bands did do that, to be fair. They just, no, we're seeing 2022 or whatever. So we kind of thought, well, someone's got to do it. So we've been busy throughout, and we were always busy, to be fair. We've got we do like these special VIP events where the super fans come down and watch us in the rehearsal room. And we do like a special little show in the rehearsal room, and they come along and ask us questions, and you know, we play some songs that we wouldn't normally play, and we have a bit of a laugh, and we do a raffle and sign a guitar. Like brilliant. We did it 2 years ago, and it was the best thing any of us have ever done. We all said that was the best thing, because you're playing to like 55, 60 people, and they are just hanging on everything, and they just love it to such a degree, and playing the songs acoustically, you know. So it was such a success. We said we'll do it again next year. Of course, last year we couldn't do it because of COVID, but we have got it being lined up as soon as we can get it all ready for hopefully this year. So that's an exclusive, everybody.
So that went by really fast. We're actually coming up on the end of our time together.
Wow,
it went by fast.
Didn't it? I talked too much.
So like I normally end on kind of an off-the-cuff question, and I figured since I like the band sound and I love your name, and I've always been kind of like a star child anyway, my weird question for you is, do you believe in aliens?
Well, that's going to open up a lot. That's another conversation entirely, that is. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I definitely think there's stuff out there, 100%. And I think there's stuff on the planet, 100%. I reckon. I
can relate to that.
They walk amongst us. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about lizards and shapeshifters and that kind of stuff, but they walk amongst us. I'm 100% sure about that. And there's definitely stuff up there. Yeah.
I was kind of thinking about that the other day, like not just because I watched Men in Black recently. It's kind of a goofy thing, not because of that, but no, I was thinking about how many galaxies and how many infinite situations like ours where there's potential for life out there.
Absolutely. The multiverse.
Plus, there's also got to be cats in space out there somewhere, right? There's some other form of cat.
Yeah, absolutely. Parallel universe, isn't it? There'll be us somewhere else on another universe somewhere else. I don't know, but yeah, Men in Black is great because and it's spooky because a lot of those old films in the 70s and 80s, a lot of those bits come through.
Yeah, I used to. I love stuff like that. I love all those. Okay, we can go on a huge other tangent.
No, you opened there.
But I have to thank you so much for your time. This has been one of the most wonderful chats that I've had about band stuff and stuff on the docket. So,
good one,
go
Chicago.
ahead. What's that?
Good one, Chicago.
Yeah.
We want to count that, don't we?
But I'm going to leave the floor to you really quick. If there's anything else that you want to talk about to your international audience here in the US as well as the UK, if you want to plug any of your social handles or anything like that. I know you said you had the album coming up, but the floor is yours, and then we'll sign off together.
Absolutely. Yeah, just if anybody out there wants to check out the band, please do. catsinspace.co.uk or Facebook. All our stuff's on there. Our website's really cool because there's loads of stuff on there, loads of stuff in the merch store. And have a listen on Spotify because if you like classic rock, we're there.
All right, perfect. Thank you. As all these motorcycles go by, I'm sorry. You guys, I love motorcycles, but I'm sorry if it's drowning everything out that I'm saying in the background. But I am Roctavia Rose for Rock News UK, and this has been my interview with Cats in Space. What's up?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a great one. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.